Hi everyone, welcome back to Scrummy. Today I'm making an apple slice. A couple of people have requested it. This apple slice has a layer of sweet short crust pastry on the bottom. Then we're going to add sliced apples and we're going to cover it in a nice Madeira mixture on top. And I'm going to add some sliced almonds to the top as well. It just gives it a nice finish. So to start off, we're going to make the pastry first. A nice easy recipe. In here I've got 250 grams of plain flour, all-purpose flour, and I'm going to add in some butter. I freeze and grate my butter. Makes it easier to rub it in and you get a better pastry too. And I've got 125 grams of butter here. We're going to rub that in until we get a breadcrumb consistency. Great, I'm going to add in the sugar, and I've got 55 grams of normal sugar here. You could use icing sugar either. Just rub that in as well. Okay, let's add the egg yolk, 1 egg yolk. I'm going to mix it first before I add it. And I've got 2 tablespoons of cold water here. I'm going to add 1, and then if I need the rest, I'll add that when I have it mixed in. I bring it together with a fork first, and then I use my hands. I'm going to add another bit of water. If you add too much water, just add a little bit of extra flour. Okay, I'm going to get my hands in here and bring it together like that. I find that's the easiest way to get your pastry together. And there you have it. Not too wet, just perfect. Some people like to put this in the fridge now for about half an hour. I'm going to roll it first, put it into my tin, and then I'm going to put it in the fridge for half an hour. So get yourself some flour and put it on your worktop. Give that a little knead. It's important not to overhandle pastry as well. Great, I'm going to roll it out now. I'm using a 9x9 square tin. I've lined it, greased it and lined it. I like to line my tins for these kind of bakes. It just makes it easier to get them out. And this is a springform tin, so you can open it on the side and it comes out very easily. So we want the pastry to cover the bottom, and it can come up a little bit up the side, and the sides don't have to be perfect. So let's roll this out now. Try and roll it as a square. So we can measure that now, and it covers it perfect. Great. I'm just going to cut a little bit off. So you can see that's enough to cover the base, and it's going to come up a little bit over the sides. Get it onto your rolling pin. And I'm going to get it into the tin now. I'm short a little bit of pastry here, so I'm just going to add a little bit of my pastry that I've left over. And there you have it, all ready. I'm going to get this into the fridge now and chill it for 30 minutes, and then we're going to bake it blind for about 15 to 20 minutes. So let's get it into the fridge now. I'm ready for the next stage now. My pastry is chilled enough and I'm going to bake this blind. So what I usually do is I get a fork and I prick the pastry all over. Doing this just helps stop the pastry from rising. That should do it. I've got some greaseproof paper here. I've rolled it up. I'm going to sit this on top of my pastry now. Just like that, and to keep my greaseproof paper down, I've got some of these baking beans. If you don't have these, you could use dried pasta, dried rice, dried lentils. And that's it. It's ready for the oven, and it's going to go into the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. Pastry is nearly ready. I'm going to remove the greaseproof paper and the baking beans. And we get this back into the oven just for 5 minutes without it being covered in the greaseproof paper. Okay folks, I'm going to make the sponge cake for the top of the apple slice. I'm going to add the apples next. I don't want to do the apples too soon because they'll go very brown in colour. So I'll do that next. And here is the pastry. It's nice and cool. It's important that the pastry is cool when you add the apple slices and the sponge mixture. You don't want the sponge mixture melting. So to make the sponge mixture, I've got some butter here. Sometimes I like to use Stork margarine. It's nice too, and I've got 150 grams. It's nice and soft, and I'm going to add in 150 grams of sugar. We're going to mix this together now for a couple of minutes till it's nice and soft and fluffy. That's perfect. I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. You could add the zest of a lemon either if you wanted a nice lemon sponge on top. It'd be lovely too. So I've got 3 medium-sized eggs here. I'm going to add one at a time while I mix. There goes 2. Now I've got 150 grams of self-raising flour. And we're going to mix this in now, and then we're nearly ready to put everything together. Just going to use a spatula to scrape down the sides, just to make sure there's no flour. I'm ready now to add my apples. I'm using 4 Bramley apples, about 450 grams, and I have actually covered them in a tablespoon of lemon juice just to stop them from going brown. So add them in there. And just spread them out so the bottom is completely covered. You want them kind of even on top as well. Lovely. I'm going to add some sugar now, so I'm adding about 3 tablespoons. You could add 3 to 4 tablespoons of sugar. I'm just adding 3 because there's sugar in the pastry and there's sugar in the sponge as well, and I don't want it too sweet. And now for the sponge mixture. Just put that in spots along the top, and then we'll spread it out. And use your spatula to spread it out. You want it right over to the edges, covering the apple, and you can cover the pastry as well if you want. Just put it right out to the edge of the tin. That's great, I've it all covered. I've got some flaked almonds and I'm going to just sprinkle some on the top. They're a nice finish to this apple slice. Entirely optional, so if you don't like nuts, you can leave them off. Okay, it's ready for the oven and it needs about 35 to 40 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. You don't want the flaked almonds to burn. If you see that they're getting a little bit too brown, just cover the top with a little bit of greaseproof paper. Let's get it into the oven now. Here it is everyone, fully baked, and it's cooled enough now to cut it. It's turned out really well. Look at the colour of that, it's beautiful. Nice golden colour, and the flaked almonds on top are just gorgeous, I think. And a nice brown colour to them as well. It's cooked very well. You can see that the sponge cake has risen well and it's covering the pastry. That's what you kind of want. I can't wait to slice into it. Now what you could do with this is you could brush it with some warm apricot jam. It'll give it a lovely shine. I don't have any jam in the house at the minute, so I'm going to leave it, and I'm just going to sieve over a little icing sugar. When you put the jam on, the apricot jam, you could sieve over some icing sugar too. So I've got a little bit of icing sugar here, and look at that. How nice does that look? Beautiful. Gorgeous. This can be cut into 16 slices or 12 slices depending on how generous you feel. I'm going to go with 16 slices. I always think a 9 by 9 looks better when it's cut 4 by 4. So we're going to start in the middle. Just try and get it centered about there and cut. can hear that crunch. Let's go again, in the middle. Smells gorgeous. And just this side left. And that's it. I'm going to sprinkle over another bit of icing sugar. And look at that. Lovely layer of sponge. You can see the apple there, and the pastry is perfectly baked and no soggy bottom. That's what we want. And that's it, everyone. That's my apple slice. A really nice recipe for you all to try. Get a bit of everything. Pastry, apple, sponge, and some nuts on top. Beautiful. Thanks so much for watching. Try out the recipe, and as always, I always love to hear what you think of my recipes. Comment below and let me know what else you'd like me to make. Happy baking, everyone, and enjoy. See you soon.